Hey everybody, RJ, CNC Metalworks. This week, we get to do a little more work to the blade. It's always funner when you get to work on something you actually enjoy. Stay tuned. We need a piece of metal for that hole we put in up there, taking that third brake light out. With that said, this is that old 57 quarter skin, and keeping in scope of what my dad used to do. Basically how he did things was use what he had laying around. Now, took that out a little bit overage, perfect the panel, clean it up, grind it. I did not want to waste you guys' time with a bunch of high speed showing how to strip off primer and rust. Anyway, this gives us the shape we need, and now we'll radius the corners and do a little check work on the roof panel and get this bad boy in and slick that roof up. Okay, radius your corners. Everybody knows this stuff, knows that it's a lot easier to weld in and doesn't create as many problems pinching a hard corner in your shape. We need all the help we can get in this one. Got our overall shape after taking a little bit of a cover with body comb. We're real close with that piece that we took right out of 57. Now, this lays in here. Got a bit of a flex problem with the old metal. So, we got something that we'll do to help that out a little bit. Cut the panel over. So we're going to square this up, describe a line. Fine tune this a little bit, get a little bit closer. It's a good place, teeter-totter for a bend point. We got a little handle here. A little bit of normal shape. Not too painful. Check it. Every little bit helps. The more it wants to lay, easier it is to go over here, obviously. Yeah. It's just about laying there by itself. We'll clean this up. When we get our actual scribe line where we want it, and we cut that really close, we can play with this fit just a little bit more, because we're going to have to elevate this a little bit, as you can see, to take this bump out, get this radius to help us out a little bit. It's just been work, fatigue, old rusty roof. It's been through its share, and we're trying to save it. Now, most people would do like go get a roof skin, just put a whole new roof skin on the whole thing. That'd be cool. And there's a time Pop would have went to a junkyard and just done exactly that. But not a lot of this stuff around. And so in that, I've always wanted to try to do things Nathan used to talk about and just go about it the way he would have what he had laying around the shop. So that's what we're doing. A little tougher in some instances, but good metal, 1957 Chevy. And a 39. And we're going to make it work. What we decided to do, or I did, was just take a little piece of brace material, go up here, cut off a little piece of plywood. This little thin Luan plywood, real flexible stuff, but this metal's so fatigued and been through so much and so old, it's all stretched out of shape. So we're trying to force a little shape into it. And the idea is with the welds shrinking up, hopefully it'll tighten up some of the overstretch and maybe, just maybe, even some things up for us and get our shape back. If not, just have to do a bunch of hammer work and get that shape back. This is our hole cut out, and we're going to fill it in. This is that piece of plywood getting this little shape. You can see we still got a little bit of flex, but it did tighten up the metal, and it lifted a lot of this shape here back up. So hopefully with this area, maybe we can work this down first. Keep this area up here. If we can keep this area up here up, this area down, hopefully we can keep this arc going pretty good without adding too much. Like I said, it's got its share of feel in it, but we're going to see what we can do. And we got our piece made right here. A little bit of shape, real simple. Follow the crown, cut it up. That's that one we cut out. And we got a little map here. Now, keeping in mind, you want to run a little gap, usually the thickness of the cutoff wheel. Most everybody that does this knows it, especially if you're using a MIG. And like we've said many times on this project, we're going to try and do as much of this work like my dad would have done it with what he had, and he never had a TIG. The welds are a little harder. You got to smack them a little more with a hammer. I like to grind them down, thin them up as much as I can, get them to work with me a little bit. But well, it actually fits in here pretty good. Not too bad. We might do a little bend over the knee right in here. But all we got to do is get to welding. All right, quick recap of our little hand planisher here. Notice it's really small. Get this little bad boy over to China Freight Store. Y'all know where that is. Banks. It's just a palm nailer. Works real simple. It's for, I guess, putting nails in wood. What we did is, y'all seen, we took an old hammerhead, laid it down. It jumped around. I tried it a little bit, and it was too hard to keep in the shaft here. But then I did a couple little tack wheels, just to hold her in place, and it ended up doing the whole roof job. And I'm going to say for, roughly 25 bucks, well worth it. I'm getting older, so harder to swing a hammer evenly and a whole bunch of times, and this is like 1,000 to 1. Plus, I noticed that as you pressed it, you could control about how hard it would hit and how often it would hit. So with that said, win-win. Cheap, affordable, small, tiny place. I can get inside quarter pounds with this bad boy. And, hold a dolly on the other side. So back in control, hammer out them welds, and it has more than enough power to do the job. Also notice, just playing around with a couple of these, we could actually put an inline valve on it. And the factory recommendations is 100 pounds. Shops run on different stuff. Just a quick tune and, turn to the knob here, watch our gauge, and we could actually control the hits. And for that kind of money, in tack welding this, I can do 2, 3, 4 of these if I want with different heads on them for different jobs. Shape-wise, size, density, whatever we want to do. But this right here, this little puppy is going to be smashing a whole lot of welds. And the neat thing about that is understanding that MIG welds are a lot tougher than TIG welding. And to remind y'all, we're trying to build this old girl like my father would have done it, and he would have MIG welded everything. Didn't have a TIG. So a little bit of grinding, get close, dolly, and just sit there and work this puppy back and forth. And does a great job. Cheap. Great job and cheap. You can't beat that. I think that looks better than the old 80s looking, late 80s, early 90s third brake light trick. I really like the way my dad ran these rib lines up into the roof. We'll keep those. Those are cool, but a little slicker look. Get that filled up. And going around to the front here, one of the two things I wanted to do this ride was I want to keep everything he did, as y'all know, whoever watches this thing, but also want to do things that we had many conversations about, and again, even a sketch, some artwork he did on it, right down to the color. So that's our goal, but at the same time, I want to be able to go to a show for him. And so some of the things we run into is kind of good engineering. We've got to make this thing work for us. One of the problems with it was he had this big center beam, and I see now, because the old cow was showing some fatigue and rot, instead of readdressing this whole piece here, he'd come up with this center seam through this whole thing, went right up into the roof, followed the line, and made like a divider. We're going to V-butt this window, giving us a little more space. If you notice inside, there was a big tachometer right here on the dash and a really big rear view mirror. And we'll go around here, as y'all can tell, and it really opened up the visual. I think, hopefully. Anyway, this was all up here in the middle. That center bar, big mirror right here, so you literally could only see right here. Now it's chopped. I mean, it's wicked chopped. It's way cool. But just that little bit, I'm hoping it'll help us drive. I can lower this lip just a little bit and up here, but I want to maintain this kind of even-ish window effect, but maximize our visual. Be able to look out of this thing, front, back, side to side, and hopefully be able to drive it. And we can still run the tach, maybe down here in the console or something. Something cool to look at. Anyway, progress. One of the things I want to address is he put in a small piece, and you can tell by the width of it here compared to here how much we've opened this up. We opened it up almost an inch, and it's, you know, it's nice and even, which I think will look good. But this little cap piece is just spot welded in where he brought it out of the roll. I'm gonna make an actual finish piece for this roll reveal, somewhat like the bottom is, and we'll cut this seam in to the old roof and make it part of the roof instead of this spot lapped thing, which is fine for what it was, but we'll make it a little better, a little stronger, and give us a good mount point for the windshield. And we'll get after that next. We don't have a lot of subscribers. We don't even have a lot of views, but we do have a lot of fun, and we do have a lot of appreciation for whoever and however many of y'all watch this. Follow along as this thing gets built up, along with many other projects. We're working our way from the top down. As you know, it's getting a little bit easier. We're dealing with a lot of fatigue and a lot of unique things. It's really cool running across some of the things my father did. For instance, in the back, he used brake lines. I thought it was solid rod until I started chopping into it. There's kind of a give and take on that. You gotta be careful. It's thin wall stuff, but it is lighter. Some of the places, if you notice in the back, there was Bondo for filler. Added a little bit of metal, a little bit of work. Will help structure, and it'll help finish the thing out a little bit easier. A little less fill in it. We're going to rework the arches and the corners and things like that with actual metal. So just trying to make the car a little better as we go. A little more of a driver. And this is Ellie, a shop dog. Thanks for watching, guys. Come back.